All right, tier rankings time. You might be wondering, wait a second, how are you doing tier rankings when there's only two teams left? Well, kind of can't do it with just two teams, so I'm going to do every team in this postseason, all 14 teams that made the playoffs here. I'm going to go with just how did I feel they performed this postseason. And what I want to be clear with here is this is not just how many wins did you get? Who got the furthest? It is more about did you meet expectations or did you exceed your expectations? So a team that was supposed to get destroyed in round one, if they get destroyed in round one, they're met expectations. But if they were supposed to win the Super Bowl and they get destroyed in round one, well, then it's are you serious? If they were supposed to get destroyed in round one and they win a game or two, then that could be very impressive. So the Rams, I am going to go with hold your head high, I think feels fair to start things off. I can't quite go very impressive, even though I was impressed a lot with this team and how they were able to. And really, Matt Stafford was amazing in this game, I thought. It was one of the better playoff games a quarterback had this season, despite the fact that, or at least this postseason, despite the fact that it did not end up in a victory, because it is a team sport. I still think there is some issues defensively for the Rams. That's something they have to work on, but, really impressive season for them. And I'll put them in the hold your head high tier. The Bills, I'm going to put them in disappointing, I feel like. Also, it's a little annoying how the tier, the G gets put on the end there, so it's disappointing. But anyway, back to the Bills. Yeah, it was disappointing. I mean, they won a playoff game, lost in a close game in the divisional round. Maybe that's close to met expectations, but given the fact that they just can't seem to get past Kansas City, you could argue that still met expectations. I'm sure some people would, but there was a lot higher expectations. It's yet another game they were favored to win that they ended up losing in the playoffs. That's disappointing for me. Maybe some people would even have them into are you serious? I wouldn't put them that far. They did win a playoff game, and they did, play Kansas City very difficult. But yeah, I think that's tough. And kind of for the same reasons, I'm still going to put the Ravens into disappointing tier, which, again, it feels weird that you managed to get all the way to the conference championship and are still in the disappointing tier. But at the same time, they had a favorable divisional round matchup, which they, took care of business there for sure. And that's kind of what keeps them out of the are you serious tier. But while that game ended up being close between them and Kansas City, they really melted down in that game, I thought. So because of that, I have to put them in the disappointing tier. The Philadelphia Eagles, this is obvious, right? Are you serious? I mean, what happened there, right? Obviously, the whole run at the end of the season was tough. But even forgetting about that, just in that playoff game, I mean, they couldn't tackle. They weren't trying to tackle. They, couldn't get receivers open. And then, Jalen Hurts, I guess he didn't turn the ball over. That's the one thing you look at. But, the safety was bad. He still made mistakes in this one. Devonta Smith was good. Everything else, though, was not. And for the Dolphins, I'm kind of in the same boat of are you serious feels fair for me of again, yes, it's Kansas City. Sure, I get it. But they had one big Tyreek Hill play, and that was it. Yes, it's the weather, but it's the playoffs. You're going to have to be able to play in the cold. This was a disastrous performance by Miami. I think I have to put them in the are you serious tier. The Cleveland Browns, I'm going to put them in met expectations. I know some people had higher hopes for them. That's kind of, all year people were saying I was too low on Cleveland for not buying into them as a championship contender. To me, I don't know. With all the injuries they had, starting Joe Flacco in a playoff game, the defense was disappointing for sure, but I wasn't expecting a ton from them. So I think it's fair to keep them in the met expectations tier, in my opinion. The Green Bay Packers, I got to put them all the way up to very impressive. I mean, this was very impressive. We looked at, Green Bay, a 7 seed. We always talk about, 7 seeds, they never do much in the playoffs. Why are they even in the playoffs? Well, the Packers go into Dallas, who we'll talk about in just a second, are able to get a dominating win there, and then had a chance against San Francisco as well. So that kind of 1-2 punch was really, really impressive. The way Jordan Love played for the first 7 quarters of his playoff career was amazing. Yeah, wasn't perfect at the end there, but still, with how young this team is, with how low expectations this team is, the fact that they went on that kind of playoff run, I was very impressed. The Dallas Cowboys, we know where they're ending up. Are you serious, Dallas Cowboys? How did you let this happen? Again, they kind of fall on their face. This was the worst playoff loss, right? I mean, they've had bad playoff losses before, I guess the other one you'd point to would be another one against Green Bay, with the Aaron Rodgers one when the Cowboys were 13-3. That was in the divisional round back when the Cowboys had the 1 seed and then lost in their first matchup. It was a disaster. The defense played horrible, which, again, it was good defense all year. Plays horrible. Dak Prescott got some kind of empty calorie stats in the second half, but he was terrible, especially in the first half. It was a disastrous performance by them, I think. The Texans, even though they got kind of crushed offensively against the Ravens, I'm still going to put them and hold your head high. They were able to pull off a victory, which, again, that Browns-Texans game felt like kind of a 50-50 game heading into it. They were able to find a way to, really dominate it, really. And then, they got beat by a better team. But, again, get some experience. CJ Stroud looked very good at times this postseason. So, a lot to, hopefully they just get healthy. A lot to grow off of from here. I don't think I said that quite right, but let's just move on. The 49ers, you're in the Super Bowl. How is that not very impressive? And especially with how they did it. Because, we talk about the NFC being kind of weak, and if, they kind of just blew out some bad teams, maybe they would still not quite be here yet. But at the same time, being down against Green Bay and all the adversity they faced there, and then being down against, down huge against Detroit, who, again, we'll talk about in just a second, that was unbelievable what they were able to do in back-to-back weeks. So, yes, you want to stop going down so much, and they still have one more game to see if they can, stay in the very impressive tier when it's all said and done. But as of right now, been very impressed. The Steelers, you already know where the Steelers are going to be. They're met expectations, right? No one expected anything. They actually maybe even performed a little bit better than what we thought, but nothing crazy. Met expectations for Pittsburgh. The Detroit Lions, I am still going to put in hold your head high here. You could argue that's a bit too, a bit much because they beat the Rams, who I said had a good day, but still, the Rams were a 6 seed, and then they beat a 4 seed in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who a lot of people said weren't that great of a team, but they still nearly had the 49ers. And I know they kind of, they choked it away a little bit. They did. But this was an amazing season. They got multiple playoff wins. That's not easy to do at all. I'm sorry. This is a hold your head high situation, and had a chance to be a Super Bowl winning run. Was not quite able to do that, but still a great run by them. Chiefs, incredibly impressive what they've done. The fact that, who they've gone in and beat too. They, beat Miami at home and kind of crushed them. And then they go to Buffalo and then go to Baltimore, beat both of those teams. At this point, it's kind of like they're beating all the best teams in the NFL, and the one team left happens to be the 49ers. So, if they can pull this off, this might be one of the more impressive runs that we've seen ever by a team that looked dead a little bit ago. So, super impressive with them. And in Tampa Bay, I'm putting them in hold your head high. Again, you won one game. I'm not sure I can put you in the very impressive tier. I did put Green Bay there, so maybe I should put them there. But hold your head high feels a little bit more accurate because, again, they beat Philadelphia, who was reeling, but then still played a very competitive game against Detroit. So wasn't quite as impressive as Green Bay's run, in my opinion, but still incredibly impressive what they were able to do. Massively exceeded expectations, in my opinion. So, it turns out, early on, it looked like, wow, am I going to just have every team be in one of the negative tiers? No. Turns out a lot of these teams I put in a positive tier. In fact, most of these teams I put in more of a positive tier, interestingly enough. So, look at me, Mr. Positive over here. You could argue that the Browns could be down a tier, I suppose. But I don't know. This feels right to me. This is my tier rankings of these teams. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.